Their emergency work trip was actually a luxury beach vacation they posted online, while I sat alone with a cooling Mother's Day dinner. Across the country, I, Margaret, the mother they forgot existed, scrolled through their smiling photos with a quiet resolve. I spent decades giving everything. Now I was taking back my life with a single letter. "You asked if I could wait until next year," I whispered to the empty room. "Instead, I won't be here to wait at all." All right, before we dive into this heartbreaking story, do me a favor. Subscribe and tell me where you're watching from. The table was set for 4. China plates my grandmother had passed down, crystal glasses polished to a shine, flowers arranged perfectly in the center. Steam still rose from the roast I'd spent hours preparing, the scent of rosemary and thyme filling my empty dining room. I checked my phone again. Still no message from Nathan or his wife Elise. Just the automated reminder from my calendar. Mother's Day dinner, 5 p.m. 3 hours had passed since then. The candles had burned low, the food gone cold. I'd called 7 times, each call going straight to voicemail. They must be stuck in traffic, I told myself at first. Maybe there was an emergency, I reasoned later. By the 3rd hour, worry had given way to a hollow feeling I couldn't name. That's when the notification appeared on my phone. Elise had posted a new photo. My fingers trembled slightly as I tapped the screen. The image loaded slowly, pixel by pixel, like a truth I wasn't prepared to receive. There they were, my son and his wife, cocktails in hand, toes in white sand, sunset painting the sky behind them. The caption read, "Emergency work trip turned beach getaway. Sometimes you just need to disconnect." No regrets. I sat motionless, the phone screen's glow illuminating my face in the now dark dining room. The timestamp on their beach photo was from yesterday. They'd already been there when Nathan called, claiming his boss needed him for an unavoidable crisis. The crisis, apparently, was a shortage of margaritas and sunshine. Margaret Winters, retired high school librarian, widow of 5 years, mother of 1 son. That's how people described me. Dependable Margaret, patient Margaret, the woman who'd worked 2 jobs to put her son through college, who'd downsized her life to help with the down payment on his first home, who never complained, never demanded, just gave and gave until giving became her identity. Nathan had always been charming, quick to promise, slower to deliver, but with a smile that made forgiveness too easy. Elise came into his life 3 years ago, polished and ambitious, with sharp eyes that assessed everything like it had a price tag. They made a striking pair at family gatherings, always slightly late, always slightly distant. "You worry too much, Mom," Nathan would say whenever I expressed concern. "We've got everything under control." Control. That word haunted me now as I continued scrolling through their vacation photos. There were dozens: resort dinners, excursions, poolside lounging, each posted without a thought that I might see them. In one, Elise wore a new sundress with the price tag still visible in the background. I recognized the brand, the same one I'd wished for but couldn't justify on my teacher's pension. My fingertips brushed against the locket at my throat, the one containing a picture of Nathan as a child. Inside, he was still smiling up at me with eyes that held nothing but love. That boy felt very far away from the man raising a cocktail glass in these photos, his mother forgotten like yesterday's news. I didn't cry. That surprised me. Instead, I felt something shift inside, like a book closing after the final page. I stood up slowly, mechanically wrapping the untouched food in foil. My movements were precise, unhurried. The kitchen clock ticked loudly in the silence. My phone buzzed. A text from Nathan. "Sorry, Mom. Crisis at work still unresolved. Rain check on dinner? Elise sends her love." The lie sat there, illuminated and undeniable. In that moment, something in me hardened like amber, preserving the hurt but sealing it away where it couldn't wound me anymore. I replied simply, "I see you're having a nice vacation. The beaches look lovely." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Finally, "What are you talking about?" I didn't respond. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table and opened a photo album. Nathan's graduation, Nathan's wedding, Nathan receiving the keys to the house I helped buy. Pages and pages of a life built on my sacrifice. I remembered selling my husband's vintage car collection after he died. Nathan had insisted it was the practical choice. You don't need those old things, Mom. Think about your future. The money had mysteriously disappeared into Nathan's business venture that never quite materialized. Another text. Mom, Elise just scheduled those posts. These are old photos. The lie was so transparent it was almost insulting. I checked the metadata. The photos were taken yesterday, posted today. Elise, always tech-savvy, had forgotten that detail. As midnight approached, more messages arrived, shifting from denial to anger. Why are you spying on our social media? You're making a big deal out of nothing. We're adults with busy lives. I turned off my phone. In the sudden quiet, I could hear something new in the house. My own breathing, steady and sure. For the first time in years, I felt truly awake. The following morning, sunlight streamed through my kitchen windows, illuminating decades of photographs magnetized to my refrigerator. Nathan's childhood smile evolved through the years. Gap-toothed grade schooler, awkward teenager, confident college graduate. I touched each one gently, as if saying goodbye to versions of my son that no longer existed. This wasn't the first disappointment, I realized. It was simply the one that had finally broken through my wall of excuses for him. Last Christmas, they'd left early to attend a work party I later discovered was a ski trip. Nathan's birthday, when I'd driven 3 hours in a snowstorm to surprise him, only to find their house empty and dark. The countless unanswered calls, forgotten invitations, and last-minute cancellations. I made myself tea and sat at my desk, pulling out a notepad. Without emotion, I began making a list. The title at the top read simply, Inventory. First came the emotional debts, years of one-sided giving, of rearranging my life to accommodate theirs, of silence when I should have spoken. Then the financial ones, the $40,000 from my husband's life insurance for Nathan's temporary business loan, the second mortgage I'd taken to help with their house down payment, the credit card Nathan had borrowed and never returned. I'd been a librarian long enough to recognize a pattern when I saw one. This wasn't just thoughtlessness, it was calculated. They took because I gave, and I gave because I thought love meant sacrifice without limits. My phone remained off. The silence felt clean, purifying. I wasn't hiding, I was thinking, planning. For once, considering what I wanted without filtering it through Nathan's needs or expectations. By evening, my inventory was complete. The truth laid bare in black and white was both heartbreaking and liberating. I finally saw the story of my life clearly and recognized that it was time to write a new chapter. The next day, I finally turned my phone back on. 17 missed calls, 32 text messages, all from Nathan and Elise. Their tone had evolved from defensive to conciliatory. It was a last-minute work trip that turned personal. We didn't think you'd mind. We'll make it up to you. What struck me wasn't their excuses, but the absence of a simple, I'm sorry. They weren't apologizing for hurting me. They were annoyed at being caught. I called my bank. I'd like to check on the status of a loan, I told the representative. The business loan I'd co-signed for Nathan 3 years ago. The one he'd promised was just a formality and that he'd been making payments on. I'm sorry, Mrs. Winters, but that loan is in default. We've sent multiple notices to the address on file. The address on file was Nathan's, notices he'd never mentioned. I drove to the small public library where I'd worked for 30 years. Meredith, my former colleague who now ran the computer lab, welcomed me with a hug. Can you help me access some records? I asked quietly. With her guidance, I discovered the full extent of Nathan's deception. The business loan had never gone to a business. Bank records showed immediate transfers to personal accounts. The house I'd helped them buy was now mortgaged to the hilt, with a recent home equity line of credit taken out just 2 months ago. Most shocking was the discovery of a rental listing. Their house, advertised for lease starting next month. They were planning to move without telling me. In my email, I found subscription confirmations for international travel magazines and property listings in Costa Rica. email threads Nathan had accidentally copied me on, then quickly followed with, "Ignore that, wrong email." They weren't just lying about Mother's Day. They were planning a complete life change, one that had no place for me in it. As I drove home, the sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. Beautiful endings often precede new beginnings. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of chamomile tea, the house quiet except for the occasional creak of settling wood. Before me lay a fresh legal pad, a row of folders, and my reading glasses. I wasn't angry anymore. I felt clear-headed, focused. First, I called my old friend Patricia, who had retired from her law practice but still kept her license active. "I need advice," I said simply. For an hour, she outlined my options regarding the defaulted loan, the property I'd helped purchase, and the years of undocumented loans to Nathan. "It won't be easy to reclaim everything," she warned, "but you're not without options." Next, I opened my laptop and began researching something I'd been considering for years, but had always dismissed as selfish: relocating to Arizona, where my sister lived. Houses were affordable there on my pension and savings. What remained of them? The desert sunshine would be a welcome change from decades of Midwestern winters. I created a methodical timeline: 2 weeks to secure my financial records, 1 month to consult with financial advisors about pension transfers and tax implications, 6 weeks to quietly list my house with a realtor who understood discretion. I didn't rush. I didn't act from emotion. Each step was calculated, each decision weighed carefully. This wasn't revenge. It was reclamation of my life, my resources, my future. Most importantly, I decided not to confront Nathan and Elise directly, not yet. Their beach vacation was scheduled to last another 5 days. By then, I would have everything in motion. I made one last call that night, to my sister Eleanor. "Remember when you said I could stay with you anytime?" I asked. "Of course," she replied. "Is everything okay?" "No," I answered honestly, "but it will be. I'm making changes." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was supporting, understanding. "Your room will be ready whenever you are," she finally said. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in years. The morning after my decision, I woke with purpose. First, I visited my credit union and spoke with the manager, a woman who had known me for 15 years. "I need to protect my assets," I explained calmly, immediately. By noon, I had opened a new account at a different bank, one Nathan had no knowledge of. I transferred most of my savings, leaving just enough in the original account to avoid suspicion. I ordered new credit cards and placed a security freeze on my credit report to prevent anyone from opening accounts in my name. Next came the safe deposit box, where I carefully stored my late husband's will, the property deeds, insurance policies, and the original loan documents bearing Nathan's signature. No more keeping important papers in my home office where they could disappear during family visits. When I returned home, I noticed Nathan had called twice more. I texted back, "Phone battery died, busy with volunteer work. We'll call soon." Simple, believable, giving nothing away. That afternoon, I met with Mary Elliott, a realtor known for her discretion. "I need my house valued and listed quietly," I told her. "No yard signs, no open houses, no online photos that show personal details." She nodded, understanding in her eyes. "I've helped other women in similar situations," she said simply. "You can trust me." By evening, I'd contacted a senior moving specialist who could help downsize my belongings efficiently. "I need this handled quickly," I explained, "and without family involvement." The most difficult task came last. I sat down at my desk and wrote a letter to Nathan. Not an angry letter, not accusations or blame, simply facts. What I knew, what I had done, and what would happen next. I sealed it in an envelope but didn't address it yet. The timing wasn't right. That night, I looked around my home, the house where I'd raised my son alone after his father died, where I'd built a life of giving and sacrifice. Soon it would belong to someone else. The thought brought not sadness but a surprising lightness, like putting down a heavy burden I'd carried too long. 5 days later, Nathan and Elise returned from their beach getaway. My phone rang at 7:30 p.m., Nathan finally calling with what I assumed would be more excuses. "Hey, Mom," he began, his voice carefully casual. "Sorry about the mix-up with Mother's Day. We got our dates confused with this work thing, and then the reception was terrible at the resort." "Resort?" I interrupted softly. "I thought it was an emergency work trip." A pause. "Well, yeah, but they put us up somewhere nice since it was last minute." His tone shifted to concerned. "Anyway, we were worried when you stopped answering. Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "Just busy." "Great. So listen, Elise and I were thinking of stopping by this weekend. There's something we want to talk to you about. An exciting opportunity we thought you might want to be part of." The opportunity, I was certain, involved more of my money, perhaps to fund their secret Costa Rica plans. "That sounds nice," I replied. "Sunday works for me." After hanging up, I received a text from Elise. "Looking forward to seeing you. BTW, did you get a call from our bank? They might be asking about some loan paperwork. Just routine stuff. No need to get into details with them." I didn't respond. The next day, while shopping for groceries, I ran into Elise's mother, Diane. We'd never been close, but she stopped me with surprising urgency. "Margaret, I've been meaning to call you. Did Nathan tell you about their plans?" "What plans?" I asked innocently. She looked uncomfortable. "Oh, maybe I shouldn't say anything. It's just, we were surprised they didn't mention it to you. About moving? To Costa Rica?" I smiled calmly. Nathan keeps me updated on all their important decisions. Diane seemed relieved. "Of course he does. You two have always been so close." As she walked away, I noticed my hands were steady, my breathing even. The confirmation of what I already knew didn't hurt anymore. It simply reinforced that my plan was necessary. Sunday arrived with perfect spring weather. Birds singing, flowers blooming, a gentle breeze carrying the scent of lilacs through my open windows. By 10 a.m., I had already accomplished more than most people do in a day. The movers had come early, discreetly loading the first batch of boxes, family photos, important documents, irreplaceable keepsakes, into their truck, bound for my sister's house in Arizona. My realtor had called with news of a potential buyer, someone looking for exactly what my house offered. And my lawyer had filed preliminary paperwork protecting my assets and challenging the defaulted business loan that still bore my name. The chess pieces were moving, silently but decisively. At noon, Nathan's car pulled into my driveway. I watched from the window as he and Elise emerged, dressed casually but expensively. Elise carried a small gift bag, a peace offering, no doubt, to soften whatever request was coming. I greeted them with a warm smile and ushered them into the living room. If they noticed some missing photographs or emptier bookshelves, they didn't mention it. "Mom, you look great," Nathan said, kissing my cheek. "Have you done something different with your hair?" I hadn't, but I nodded anyway. Tea? Over Earl Grey and store-bought cookies I hadn't bothered baking. They eased into their pitch. Nathan spoke while Elise nodded encouragingly. "So we've been thinking about making some life changes," he began. "Opportunities overseas. Costa Rica specifically. There's this amazing property investment." I listened, face neutral, as he explained their plan to buy land, build rental properties, create a retirement paradise. All they needed was a temporary loan to secure the initial property. My retirement savings would be perfect. "It's completely safe," Elise added, "and you'd have a place to stay whenever you visit." The irony wasn't lost on me. They couldn't visit me for Mother's Day, but expected me to visit them in Costa Rica. "How interesting," I said, pouring more tea. "And when were you planning this move?" "That's the exciting part." Nathan leaned forward. "We found the perfect property, but we need to act fast, next month fast." I nodded thoughtfully. "I'll need to think about it." They exchanged glances. This wasn't the enthusiastic response they'd expected. After they left, promising to give me time to think, I moved quickly. My house was nearly empty now. The movers had worked efficiently while Nathan and Elise pitched their Costa Rica dream. The timing had been perfect. The last truck pulling away just minutes before their arrival. I made one final call to my lawyer, confirming everything was in place. Then I sat down at my kitchen table, one of the few pieces of furniture remaining, and finished the letter I'd started days ago. Dear Nathan and Elise, it began. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. I explained everything. The defaulted loan I'd discovered, the home equity line they'd taken without telling me, the Costa Rica properties they'd already put deposits on using my identity. I detailed the legal actions I'd taken to protect myself and reclaim what was mine. I've spent my life giving to you, Nathan, I wrote. But I've learned that real love requires respect, honesty, and reciprocity. What we had wasn't love. It was exploitation. I ended with something I'd never said before. I deserve better. I deserve peace, honesty, and a life that belongs to me. I hope someday you'll understand that this isn't about punishment. It's about healing. I sealed the envelope, addressed it simply with their names, and placed it on the empty kitchen counter. That evening, I took one last walk through the house that had been my home for 30 years. Each room held memories. Nathan's first steps in the living room, homework at the kitchen table, birthdays and Christmases, and ordinary Tuesday dinners. But those memories would travel with me. They didn't belong to the house. As twilight fell, I locked the door for the last time and slipped the key through the mail slot. In my car waited a single suitcase containing everything I needed for the journey to Arizona. The rest had already arrived at my sister's house, where a new bedroom awaited me, and beyond it, a new life. I drove away without looking back, my rearview mirror focused only on the road ahead. 3 days later, at a roadside motel in New Mexico, I finally turned my phone back on. The messages flooded in immediately, frantic texts and voicemails from Nathan and Elise, alternating between confusion, anger, and desperate pleas. Mom, where are you? This isn't funny. You can't just disappear. We need to talk about the loan paperwork. I listened to each message calmly, noting how their tone evolved from disbelief to panic as they realized what had happened. My lawyer had sent formal notices of legal action regarding the fraudulent loan applications and identity theft. The bank had frozen their accounts pending investigation. The Costa Rica property deal had collapsed without my retirement funds to finance it. Their carefully constructed plans, built on my sacrifice and silence, were crumbling around them. I didn't respond to their messages. Instead, I called my realtor, who informed me that the offer on my house had been accepted. The new owners would move in next month, a young family with 2 small children who loved the backyard garden I'd tended for years. That evening, I sat on the motel balcony watching the desert sunset paint the sky in spectacular oranges and purples. My phone buzzed with a text from Elise's mother, Diane. Margaret, I don't know what's happening, but Nathan and Elise are saying terrible things about you. I thought you should know. I appreciated her warning, but felt no need to defend myself. The truth would emerge on its own, in bank statements and legal documents that couldn't be explained away with charming smiles or practiced excuses. 1 week after I left, my sister sent me a local news clipping. Nathan's company was under investigation for financial irregularities. His professional reputation, so carefully cultivated, was in jeopardy. The life he and Elise had built on falsehoods was revealing its fragile foundation. I felt no joy in their troubles, no vindication in their panic. What I felt was simpler, purer, freedom. The weight of responsibility for their choices was no longer mine to carry. For the first time in decades, my shoulders felt light, my breath came easy. 1 year later, I sit on the patio of my small adobe home in Sedona, watching hummingbirds hover around the feeder my sister gave me as a housewarming gift. The desert air is dry and clean, the morning sun warming my face as I sip my coffee. My life here is quiet but full. I volunteer at the local library 3 days a week, sharing my love of books with a new community. I've joined a hiking group for seniors, my legs growing stronger with each canyon trail we conquer. My house is small but perfect, just enough space for me and the occasional visit from my sister or my new friends. Nathan found me eventually, of course. The legal proceedings required my testimony. We sat across from each other in a sterile conference room, him in an expensive suit that couldn't hide his haunted eyes, me in a simple dress I'd chosen for comfort rather than impression. "Why did you just leave?" he asked during a break, his voice small like when he was a child. "Why didn't you talk to me first?" "Would you have listened?" I replied simply. "You never did before." The court ordered restitution for the funds taken in my name. Nathan and Elise avoided criminal charges by agreeing to repayment terms. Their Costa Rica dreams dissolved into a more modest reality: a rented apartment, entry-level jobs, the humbling work of rebuilding what their deception had destroyed. Yesterday, a Mother's Day card arrived from Nathan. No elaborate promises, no requests for money or forgiveness. Just a simple acknowledgement of the day and a brief update on his life. He and Elise have separated. He's in therapy. He's learning to live within his means for the first time. I placed the card on my bookshelf without response. Perhaps someday we'll rebuild a relationship based on truth and mutual respect. Perhaps not. Either way, I am at peace with my choice. They promised to visit for Mother's Day. Then I saw their vacation photos. I left a letter on the door and disappeared. But what I really did was reappear, as myself, finally visible after decades of being overlooked. Sometimes the most powerful thing a woman can do is simply walk away and start again.